Good morning.
Convertible, 30,000. Good morning. But that's not original, so I gotta. Yes. No, That's funny.
What?
Can you test your mic, please?
Yes, I did. Hello.
With hydraulics.
and that will ruin the paint.
Yeah.
What's he gonna?
This is NBC Palm Springs.
Good morning. Thanks so much for waking up with us for Palm Springs today. I'm Thalia Hayden.
And I'm Joe Smith. I'm glad you're here. Hope you had a good 4th of July weekend.
It was a nice one. I got out of town, so
Yeah.
it was nice and cool up in Idlewild.
Yeah, about what, 80 degrees?
Yeah, nice 80 during the day and
That's
then
nice.
60 at night.
A friend of mine called this blowtorch hot.
I would imagine it was.
Yes.
Because when I drove back yesterday, I was like, boy, is it hot.
Yeah, it was hot. And I don't know if it's going to continue to be. Of course, Jerry Steffen has been checking on that for us. So
And he
Jerry
did warn us.
He
warned
blowtorch
us.
hot.
Yeah, and we're going to see a lot more of that over the next several days. Next weekend looks a little toasty, too.
Oh, boy.
115s, 116s. There's the moon.
Yeah.
Look
It's
at
waning.
that.
It's
Yes.
waning. We had a full one over the weekend, but yeah, it's still big and bright up there. You got Jupiter right next to it. If you look outside, yeah. Look to the, I believe, right of the moon. You'll see Jupiter out there. I think Saturn's right behind the moon at the moment. As far as temps, 81 degrees right now. Starting out on the warm side around the valley. Winds are calm, 35% relative humidity. Going to be a very dry day today with single-digit relative humidity in the middle of the afternoon. Temp check time, 41 degrees up at Big Bear, 72 Yucca Valley, 29 Palm, 73, 84 at Desert Hot Springs, 87 at Thousand Palms. 84 degrees, as I mentioned, Desert Hot Springs. There we go. 74 Mecca, 86 Indio, 81 degrees at Palm Desert. Clear skies, a lot of sunshine. Cloud-free today. Nothing on radar over the southwest. High pressure in the upper levels, ensuring that we're going to be above average. So 111 to 114. Blowtorch hot again today for the Coachella Valley. We'll see basically those dew points in the 30s, but relative humidity, as I said, will be below 10% by the middle of the afternoon. So our Comfort Air 3-day forecast, 112 for Palm Springs today, 111 tomorrow. Wednesday, we see the numbers drop, but just below 110 for many of us in the valley before they move back up. And the weekend, yeah, it's going to be very hot. All the numbers. And that's 70 coming up in just minutes. Keep it here.
It is July in the valley. All right, Jerry. Top stories this morning, 730 new coronavirus cases reported in the county on Friday, 12,000 across the state, which is a record-breaking number. And as coronavirus cases steadily climb locally, we have to ask ourselves how we got here. Our Kitty Alvarado spoke with county officials to find out.
California is seeing record numbers of coronavirus cases after flattening the curve. Riverside County's spike is so concerning, the governor ordered the accelerated reopenings to be dialed back. Restaurants can no longer have indoor dining, and bars were ordered closed. Bruce Barton, the county's director of emergency management, says the state is monitoring our county closely, and more action will be taken if the surge continues.
We've been told in no uncertain terms that the state will continue to evaluate and they will continue to take the actions that are necessary to blunt this surge that is going on statewide.
In the last 2 weeks alone, the county has seen nearly 6,000 new cases.
Our testing positivity rate in the last few weeks has gone up. The statewide benchmark is to not be over 8%, and we're up in the 13% area right now.
Surge in hospitalizations and ICU capacity are two of the reasons the county is on the state's watch list. Barton says the theory that people from outside our county and country accounting for the spike is not true.
There's all kinds of urban myths about this. Black helicopters flying people in the dead of night, and I mean that has not been the case. As of yesterday, we had a total of 6 in our 17 acute care hospitals.
In April, the county took a strong stance ordering face coverings to be worn when leaving the home. In those 2 weeks, the county only added 48 new cases. A month later, after pushback, the mask order was rescinded. 2 weeks later, there were over 1,700 new cases. Then came the accelerated reopening. 2 weeks after that, there were 2,300 new cases. And 2 weeks after the protests, there were more than 3,200. Barton says there's not one reason or event for the surge. All are contributing, but mainly people are going about their business like there's no pandemic.
It remains to this day a stay-at-home order. Everybody is only supposed to go out for certain reasons, right? And when they do, they need to go out safely and they need to go out responsibly. That's really what we need to get people to focus on.
So while people think we're out of the woods, the reality is we're in the woods and there's a wildfire.
If they want to go back to their normal lives, they need to do so within the context of following guidelines that include the hand washing, the facial coverings, the social distancing.
Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
Let's take a quick look at our local numbers now. The county has stopped reporting numbers on the weekend, so these are as of Friday. Over 19,000 cases in Riverside County, over 5,500 of those in the Coachella Valley, 479 deaths in the county, 130 in the valley. Now, Indio has the most cases in the valley with 1,509 cases. Indio also has the most deaths with 34.
Palm Springs issued a new order last week making it mandatory to wear masks outside, even when hiking or doing other activities. City leaders say the new requirement is enforceable by an increasing fine.
If there's a willful refusal, they will be subject to a citation and a fine, and it could be range anywhere from $250 all the way up to $5,000, depending upon the situation.
Governor Gavin Newsom also debuted a new campaign last week saying it's time Californians got serious about wearing masks. Travel is slowly starting to resume, but it's still far from normal. A new survey by the American Hotel and Lodging Association finds only 44% of Americans are planning an overnight vacation this year, and that number is usually around 70%. And as we continue to move deeper into the summer months, many are reconsidering their travel plans. Last week, American Airlines announced it will begin selling middle seats again, while others continue to limit capacity. Our Nico Payne spoke to local travelers to get their reaction.
The Palm Springs airport was pretty quiet for this time of year compared to previous seasons, and travelers I spoke to say that although they are uncomfortable with many of the changes, they are ready to fly again. Many U.S. airlines have had to roll with the changes during the COVID-19 pandemic. That means mandatory face masks, heightened cleaning procedures, and encouraging social distancing as much as possible. Some airlines like Delta and Southwest have been capping their capacity around 60% as cases continue to increase in at least 40 states. But United and Spirit were the first airlines to announce booking full flights, and now American Airlines is joining that list too.
I'm not comfortable with that. The plane I was on was small enough that I had to sit 2 and 2. There was no choice of that. They're pretty full, but everybody I saw was wearing a mask and compliant.
American Airlines did say they will notify passengers once flights are full and allow them to change flights to lesser crowded planes until September 30th.
The amount of seats on the aircraft are on high demand.
Lopez says American Airlines is requiring travelers to answer a health questionnaire and face masks must be worn.
If customers refuse to wear the mask, we will limit their travel.
Frequent travelers say flying has become stressful with increased wait times and more regulations, but that shouldn't deter people from the experience.
I think there's a lot of stress involved in traveling now, but at the same token, you need to get out there and get back in the swing of things in travel.
I think they're doing well now. I'm sorry that we didn't do a better job in the last couple of weeks, but if we can just stick with it, I think we'll do well, but we just can't back off.
American Airlines also says once on board, passengers may move to different seats in their cabin if available, but many health experts, including the CDC, say flying may increase the risk of exposure. I'm Nico Payne, NBC Palm Springs.
A brush fire in Santa Clarita reached 1,100 acres over the weekend. The Soledad fire exploded to 400 acres early on Saturday, and by the end of the night, it had grown to 1,100. Parts of the 14 freeway were shut down. Many residents had to evacuate. The Los Angeles County Fire Department has been fighting the fire in an attempt to slow it down. At last check, the fire was 0% contained. And then another brush fire exploded past 1,500 acres in Santa Clara County, forcing many evacuations in South Bay. The Cruz fire also started Saturday. The fire destroyed at least 2 buildings and threatened many others.
It is now 9 after the hour, and still to come, English pubs open for business at what potential cost to the paying customer, though?
And let's take a look right now at our stocks futures live board. It's a mixed bag. We'll have that opening bell for you at 6:30 a.m.
All right, let's head to the tram right now. 54 degrees, and the blue light is on. It's not a Kmart special, though.
In support of all our healthcare workers, we thank you for all you do at this difficult time. And we also want to show you a picture of the full moon.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Look at this.
Isn't that beautiful?
All of its glory from over the weekend, a gorgeous sight. And now let's show you it's still sticking around, but it's waning, as Jerry said.
Waning? Yeah, Jupiter and Saturn out there.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you, Aaliyah, for sending that photo in.
Yes, we got a lot more coming up. Stay with us, please. to some headlines from around the world. Pubs and restaurants are open again in England for the first time in 103 days with social distancing rules in place. But in some areas, big crowds turned out, making enforcement difficult. It's the biggest easing of the country's lockdown, despite Britain's recording the third most COVID-19 deaths in the world. Sarah Hartman reports from London.
We saw massive crowds of revelers in the streets of neighborhoods like Soho, leading some to wonder whether this is sustainable here in England. Britain, of course, is still in the midst of a pandemic. More than 44,000 people have died in this country of COVID-related causes. That is third in the world after the U.S. and Brazil. Of course, the pubs are enforcing social distancing guidelines, or at least trying to. They're trying to keep visitors 3 feet apart. Some pubs are doing temperature checks and limiting the number of people who can be either at the bar or seated inside the establishment.
Yeah, it's just nice to be out and about again, and it feels like things are getting a bit more back to normal. At the same time, yeah, it is different.
But trying to social distance while drinking certainly proved tricky on Saturday night.
The vast majority of people followed the rules, did the right thing, and of course we'll take action when we need to, if the minority break the rules.
Time will tell whether this new policy can be maintained. Some Britons are going to be regretting the choices they made last night. Sarah Harmon, NBC News, London.
Here's a live look right now from our Agua Caliente casino cam in Rancho Mirage. A few cars on the road. Looks like
back to work after a holiday weekend.
Yes, exactly. 3-day weekend for many. Stay with us. Jerry will have your full AccuWeather forecast.
Did you say for Manny?
What? In this morning's Showbiz Report, Desperados is a new comedy from Netflix that started streaming over the weekend. Manny, the movie guy, spoke with the cast.
I thought by the time I was 30, I'd be married, just chill on the guys, you know?
Desperados is a super funny, raunchy comedy with a great big heart, and it speaks volumes on the power of friendship. So I love it.
Yay, yay.
So quickly, what attracted you to joining the cast of Desperados? Let's begin with you, Miss Anna, who I loved since True Blood, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. I immediately, obviously I read the script and I was like, wow, this could be really fun. Like, this is crazy. These girls get into some crazy things. And I had worked with LP, who's the director, just did a reading of a film script, and I just fell in love with her, and I thought she was so talented and so funny.
I have a blind date. Hi.
Look, Wesley, you seem like a great girl. The timing's not right for me.
I'm sorry, what? Oh my God. Who are you?
I'm Jared Sterling.
What do you actually know about this guy?
What I love best about the film is each character is so layered and they're all hiding some pain and sadness, right?
Her biggest pain is not being able to conceive and struggling over and over again, just going after it doggedly. Like, for people who struggle to conceive, it's this goal that you must attain, and you kind of lose sight of like what motherhood is.
Wes, is that you? It's Jared. I'm in Mexico.
I was in a bit of a car accident. My phone's at the resort. What? I'll call you when I know more.
If Jared reads that email, my life is over.
Oh my God.
Would it be insane if I went to Mexico and erased the email?
Yes.
What about you, Brooke? She has equal parts darkness and sadness, and who needs to love baby Brooke, right?
Yes, baby Brooke needs to be loved. She doesn't she? She just does. Yeah, I loved playing Brooke. You know, she can come off, you know, a little hard, a little cold at times, but I think she's built some walls up. And obviously, you know, her husband has recently cheated on her, and she's unsure if she should get a divorce. And I actually wanted to play this character so badly because I could relate to her in that way.
Yeah.
And just how wonderful and real and the grounded these characters are, even in this heightened world of comedy and raunchy, dirty, fun stuff. There's a lot of heart. And a lot of great lessons about friendship in it too.
That's right. We all need Heather Graham as Angel de la Paz.
Yes,
right.
I do. I adore Heather Graham, and she was phenomenal to work with in that scene. And she was just so open and game for everything, and she healed me.
You're in a Mexican jail. What do you want me to do? Dwell on that or rise above it?
Dwell on it.
Dwell on it. Yeah, happy Monday. We're looking at clear skies over the valley right now in our Agua Caliente Casino Camp. Plenty of sunshine to go around later on today. Actually, the next few days, cloud-free for us. As far as temps yesterday, it was hot. Extreme heat around the valley, 115 at Palm Springs. Should be closer to 107. Still hot, but at least doable, right? 82 currently at Palm Springs, 70 Coachella, 73 at 29 Palms, 68 degrees at Banning, 73 at Cabazon at this hour. Clear skies and satellite imagery over the southwest and the valley. Not a whole lot going on because high pressure is in control of our forecast. Going to keep us dry and hot over the next few days. That ridge will stick around for the next few days. But look at these numbers. Kind of close to yesterday, 111 to 114, putting us well above average. Lots of low 1-teens this afternoon. A lot of sunshine, breezy onshore flow going for us. Not going to bring us all that much relief, though. Temperatures along the coast, 80s and 90s for most of us, but inland easily into the 1-teens, 112s and 113s and 114s. That's today for the Coachella Valley. Triple digits easily up north, and about the same as we move into Tuesday afternoon. Now, we do get a little bit of relief, but it's not much. Trough of low pressure, though weak, will move its way into Northern California. It'll fall apart over the next 24 hours, but it will pull temperatures down at or below 110 for Wednesday afternoon. It's a one-day deal because Thursday they move back up, and even hotter weather expected for the weekend. Cloud-free today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, possibly even Thursday. Some high clouds move in. Moisture in the upper levels will begin to seep in from the south. Now, as far as southern moisture, lower levels of the atmosphere, single-digit relative humidity in the middle of the afternoon today, tomorrow. Wednesday, maybe even Thursday for some of us. Checking the tropics, we have 3 waves we're watching. First 2 out in the middle of the Pacific are not worried about. They should fall apart in the next 24 hours. It's this system that has a 90% chance of developing into the next tropical depression, possibly storm, as it makes its way along the coastline. This could be our next named storm, Christina, over the next couple of days. As far as our Comfort Air 7-day forecast, gonna stick around with the heat. 112 today, 111 for Palm Springs. There's that dip in the temps. Not a big dip, 108. But then we move back up. Check out the weekend. 114 Saturday, high clouds, 116 on Sunday.
Welcome back. You're getting a live look right now from our Walter Clark Highway 111 cam this Monday morning. Starting out nice, but definitely plan for that heat up. Let's get to some health news right now. In your health today, parenting is very difficult during quarantine. And now the Academy of Pediatrics, American Academy of Pediatrics, have put out some guidelines for you. Some suggestions include letting kids outside for their physical and mental health. If you have babies or toddlers, you want to find a shady spot, especially in this heat, to do some outdoor story time, maybe read some books outside, and have children make connections to their surroundings. You can also put your little one in a stroller, head out for a walk. Talking and describing what you see along the way can help them learn vocabulary and communication skills. Bubbles and balls are also other great activities outside that build motor and balance skills. And of course, there's swimming. Preschoolers can also benefit from time outside. Experts suggest taking kids on a nature walk or a bike ride to collect rocks, leaves, and other treasures. Let your children draw make-believe worlds with sidewalk chalk. That's a big popular one right now. Or create obstacle courses to run through and allow them to help you with simple outdoor tasks like watering flowers or weeding. Young children love to feel like helpers. Now, isolation can be a bit harder for school-age kids, so it's really important to check in with them often. Older children may find it easier to share these feelings while walking side by side with you rather than a face-to-face conversation. That's why a daily stroll or game of catch can be a great time for a check-in. You know, you want to be doing something else while engaging them in talking. It's another way to entertain older kids without a screen is to maybe put some bird seed up. It's just hard. It's overall very difficult. We were talking about what age is the hardest to parent right now, and I'd say the older kids, probably.
Yeah, but I have noticed in taking Frankie for a walk that the chalk thing is coming back.
Yes.
That is, a kind of, after a while, kids probably ran out of steam on that, but now they've kind of...
ran out of chalk.
They've got new chalk. And I guess there's a spray chalk now.
Cool.
Out there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's
remember
cool.
we were featuring some of those? Maybe we'll bring that back.
Yeah, it's a good idea because, they can write some nice little sayings of things that are uplifting.
I would say do it in the early morning, though, because
that's true, because
it is
the
heating
cement
up.
gets pretty hot.
And Jerry's telling us this heat is not going away. It is July. This is what we expect.
I know, but 116 by next Sunday.
Oh, boy.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh, yeah. Blowtorch heat. All righty, look at there. That's the tram cam right now. Looks a little hazy.
It does look a little hazy. And here's the moon still glowing. It is waning right now. And it's a cool sight in the sky, that's for sure. So take a look.
It is, yeah. When you get up early, dark 30, it's really nice to have that there.
Welcome back as we take this live look of the moon from our Agua Caliente Casino cam in downtown Palm Springs. It is waning right now. Beautiful view. Jerry Stephan will have your full forecast in just a few minutes. But first, we want to take a look at those stocks futures right now. Mixed bag on the screen. We will have the opening bell live for you at 6:30. But for now, here's Leslie Picker with a look at this morning's business headlines.
Wall Street is set to open sharply higher this morning as the markets try to build on last week's momentum. Stocks are coming off strong gains with the Dow up more than 3% and the Nasdaq up more than 4.5%. The markets also wrapped up their best quarterly performance in decades. But the optimism is being offset by the continued surge in coronavirus cases around the world and especially in the U.S., raising concerns about the global economic recovery. In focus for investors this week, reports on the services sector, consumer credit, unemployment, and producer prices. Uber has reportedly struck a deal to buy Postmates for about $2.6 billion. It's expected to be formally announced later today. The takeover could help Uber Eats gain ground against market leader DoorDash. Postmates has strong footholds in Los Angeles and the Southwest. The deal comes just weeks after Uber failed in its bid to buy Grubhub. And Target has hiked the minimum wage for its workers to $15 an hour effective this week. The retailer is also giving all hourly employees a one-time bonus of $200. Target had temporarily raised wages by $2 an hour in March as the COVID-19 pandemic spread throughout the country. The minimum wage hike will effectively give a raise to 275,000 of Target's more than 350,000 workers. With your CNBC Morning Business Report, I'm Leslie Picker.
And now Now to some headlines from across the country. A live look from Washington, D.C. Across the country, cases of COVID-19 are surging, and in some hotspots, local officials say reopening too soon fueled a rise in cases. But the Trump administration says businesses can reopen safely as long as citizens take personal responsibility to stop the spread of the virus. Alice Barr now from Washington.
This morning, concerns over how a holiday weekend of partying could add to a record-breaking surge in coronavirus cases. Beaches were packed in some states, while others shut them down and banned large gatherings. A mixed response to mixed messages. President Trump downplaying the seriousness in a July 4th address and blaming increased testing.
By so doing, we show cases, 99% of which are totally harmless.
The FDA commissioner not backing up that unfounded claim.
So I'm not going to get into who's right and who's wrong. Those data show us that this is a serious problem.
More than 30 states are now seeing cases rise, with Florida and Texas reporting their biggest daily increases over the weekend. Houston among the hardest hit.
A month ago, 1 in 10 people were testing positive. Today it's 1 in 4.
And as cases spike in Arizona, the mayor of Phoenix says the state reopened too early.
We were one of the last states to go to stay at home and one of the first to reemerge, and we reemerged at 0 to 60.
The Trump administration insists the economy can continue to reopen safely.
We knew that cases would go up. We are far, far better prepared to deal with those cases now than we were just a few months ago.
Administration officials urging personal responsibility to control the spread, while many medical experts call for a national strategy. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
President Trump also insists a vaccine will be ready before the end of the year. The FDA commissioner would not confirm that, promising no vaccine will be released until it is proven safe and effective.
Authorities in South Carolina investigating a shooting at a nightclub that claimed 2 lives and left 8 people injured. Now, the club was open despite a ban on large gatherings in South Carolina. We have the story from NBC's Dan Sheneman.
Investigators say the shooting started just before 2 a.m. Sunday morning at the Lavish Lounge in Greenville, South Carolina. Sheriff's deputies near the club heard gunshots fired and responded. They found multiple victims.
Everything's turned over. There's a few chairs in there. There's food on the floor, some bottles busted. You can tell somebody left in a hurry. There's some pretty large amounts of blood in various parts of the club.
10 people suffered gunshot wounds. 2 have died, 1 a security guard. Authorities have not made any arrests but released 4 photos of persons of interest. Because of the ongoing pandemic, large crowds are not allowed to open in South Carolina. It's not clear if the Lavish Lounge was granted an exception.
If those club owners are watching, I hope they sleep well tonight because it's their fault, 100%.
While it's not known how many people were inside the club, the sheriff says it was a very large crowd. Dan Sheneman, NBC News.
A Colorado speedway could be in hot water after county health officials say a weekend event did not follow COVID-19 requirements. Bandimere Speedway held the Jet Car Nationals event at the speedway on the 4th of July and agreed to keep attendance at the 23,000-seat venue to 4,500 people. Now, health officials say they fear there will be additional COVID cases that will be traced back to this event.
And I do feel bad for those who went to this event feeling that things were going to be under control because we were involved, and then again not having that actually happen that way. That is very concerning to me.
Now, the Speedway has not responded to a request for comment. County health officials say they'll meet with county attorneys to talk about potential legal actions.
It is now 35 after the hour. Up next, a different look at the Salton Sea.
People want to have a dream and they want to have an ambition. And I think specifically with the Salton Sea, a lot of people always saw a lot of potential in this body of water, in this very unique area. And so there was that tendency to strive and yearn for something to happen. And unfortunately, as you see in the film, there's effectively just a series of events that always kind of prevented that.
A new documentary about the Salton Sea, its history, and why it wasn't such a good idea after all.
The bad and the ugly. This is a picture right now of the composer.
We're remembering him. He died over the weekend. He was 91 years old.
We made it.
Five.
What is his name? Anino?
Anino Morricone. I heard you scream.
I did too. Where was that coming from?
Trino pushed her over the edge.
History is a rearview mirror on life and events. It's also a lesson for the future, or so it would seem. It's evident in a new documentary, Miracle in the Desert, The Rise and Fall of the Salton Sea. Greg Bassenian is the filmmaker. Welcome, Greg. It's good to see you. It really is a wonderful documentary, but it also is a lesson in something that should not have happened.
Absolutely, Joe. Thanks for having me. And I agree. You know, the documentary in terms of the narrative is pretty stunning and staggering in terms of past history and lessons learned, specifically in terms of the environment and the impact that we have.
And so why, after so many mistakes, did they continue to try to make the sea happen?
You know, Joe, I think that inherently people want to have a dream and they want to have an ambition. And I think specifically with the Salton Sea, a lot of people always saw a lot of potential in this body of water, in this very unique area. And so there was that tendency to strive and yearn for something to happen. And unfortunately, as you see in the film, there's effectively just a series of events that always kind of prevented that.
It seems also that a lot of egos got in the way as well.
Yeah, you could say that. You know, there were a lot of huge ambitions, both early on with engineering projects, in the middle history of the sea in the 50s and 60s with real estate development projects, and people who might have been overreaching a little bit with what they were trying to do.
At one point, it was a destination. It was a place to go. It was a driving force in Southern California. What was the turning point that changed everything?
The turning point that really changed everything occurred at the end of the 60s and in the mid 70s, it seems, when Hurricane Kathleen ended up hitting the valley. And it was fairly destructive. As you see in the film, we have some great archival footage. And what that did was it really pushed the communities there over the brink. Some of the property ownership was already dwindling. Some of the tourism was already dwindling. And when that storm passed through the valley and did that kind of damage, it kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back, in a sense.
So the hope with this film is what?
Well, the hope is sort of twofold. The first hope was really to educate people about the sea, dispel some of the myths about the sea. You know, there tends to be a lot of myths that it's polluted or that it's a weird place, and that's just not true. The second goal was really to raise awareness for sort of the environmental issues that are cropping up right now as the sea is beginning to shrink very rapidly.
What will happen in the future if we don't do something about it, do you think?
If we don't do anything about the Salton Sea, effectively the ecosystem there will collapse. But what's more frightening is if the lake dries up, there could be huge impacts in terms of air quality throughout the region, both in the Coachella and the Imperial Valleys.
Does it look like anything is going to be done with it in the near future?
Due to the current situation with the pandemic and the economic implications of what's going on right now, that might be set back quite a bit. And